Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet, and today we are checking out Welcome to Dream and Emotion by Dreamcatcher. So we're going to be finishing off this little Nightmare EP from Dreamcatcher. I do really want to check out some of the other tracks besides just the storyline ones and the singles, ones with the music videos and stuff like that. And people specifically asked me in the comments to my Chase Me reaction to check out the intros and stuff, the little like mini instrumental tracks that are also on the album. So I thought since Emotion doesn't have an MV and we're just going to be listening it to the one time, that we would also listen to the little 40-second track that is the intro for this as well. I'm excited. I think that getting into tracks that aren't singles and like some of the more popular songs is really where you get to see a musical group diversify and show lots of other sides of who they are. So I'm excited to kind of see some of the lesser known tracks and kind of break those down a little bit. And then we are going to start learning about like who the members are and stuff like that, which I'm also so excited about. Like, I can't stop thinking about how much I want to just binge through a bunch of this stuff. So we're just gonna sit down, we're gonna do a bunch of videos for it because I can't get it out of my head. So let's check out Welcome to Dream. Okay, let's see what this intro has for us. Ooh, very dramatic. Ooh. Sorry, I love the kind of like stutter where there's this, the heavy drums and it sounds like we have some brass instruments coming in and then that complete silence. And I think that it's a really cool effect for something that is, called nightmares and that kind of thing, because there's nothing more unsettling than complete silence, because it doesn't happen in real life. At no point are you ever just going about your life and there's like actually no sound whatsoever. You might not be able to like pick out some of the more obvious sounds, but there's always something. There's always some kind of background noise. So when you get complete silence in like films or songs, there's something uncomfortable about it and there's an anticipation. And I think that fits so well with something called nightmare, because like it's a very mundane thing. Like it's not like there's anything inherently scary about silence, but there's something very unnerving about it. Ooh. I love the synths too that are like panning between the two sides. That panning's cool. Ooh, then the heavier guitar. Ooh, I like the choir vocals too. Eerie and yet beautiful. With the strings coming in too. Ooh. I love that we have the like choir coming in very like dramatic, theatrical, and then you have the strings and lots of these little isolated kind of synth sounds, and then you have a really distorted heavy guitar coming in. I don't know, there's something like kind of epic and theatrical about it too, but it's also kind of clashing with the almost like more traditional music sound. So I like that we're getting those parallels. I've talked a lot with Dreamcatcher about parallels and playing off of like there being two sides to the same coin with them. So I like that we're still getting that as like even just introduction, being like this is going to be something that is a mixture of a lot of different things. Because you have the guitar here and it's kind of bass heavy, but then this is like a really distorted sound. Ooh, and they kind of like let it drawn out, like it kind of fades, which is cool too. There's again an eeriness to that. Ooh, and then the very simple little riff at the end. I love that. I love that there's all these little elements in it that very much mirror the story of like, eeriness and that kind of slight discomfort because it's not what you're expecting and you can't quite get your footing because things keep shifting around, which fits very much with like dream logic, nightmares. But I think it's also a good introduction into something like Chase Me, which I've already listened to, where it's all about, whatever your expectations are, we're doing something different, which I've gotten a little bit of a backstory from you guys about like the group. They had a different name and then they had to switch up their sound and kind of distinguish themselves outside of the norm to just like get people to listen to them. So I love that even in the intro track, we're, definitely fitting into this, rock vibe, but there's also this eerie and uncanny feeling to it as well. It's a really good kind of mood setter. But let's get into Emotion. I'm like, I don't know what this is gonna be because it's like a B-side track, so I'm curious what the sound is gonna be, especially with something called emotion. What kind of emotion? A sad emotion? A happy emotion? A frustrated emotion? I don't know. I'm excited. Ooh, sad? Piano sounds like it might be sad. Maybe like Victoria's overcoming hardships, maybe? I could be optimistic. Ooh, I love the snap as like the percussion. They do like that swirling synth, don't they? Oh, feeling trapped. Oh. Ooh, sorry, beautiful little vocal run at the end of that. We're gonna go back, don't worry. But like talking about being like stuck in like the same day, like doing the same thing over again. And it almost seems like they're talking about like going back and thinking through the same things, like getting stuck thinking about mistakes or like things that they wish they had done better, or like seeing like, could I have done something better in this situation, and like going back through their different actions and stuff. It seems kind of, you know, when you get stuck in like thought spirals and you're just like continuously doubting your decisions and what you did. It's one of those things where like sometimes you can't get it right, and not to like be a huge nerd for a second, but there's a great line from Captain Picard from Star Trek, hear me out for a second, where he talks about how it's possible to get everything right, to do everything right, and still fail. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically the thing where it's like sometimes you can do every single thing you possibly could right, and it still doesn't work out, and you keep trying to find like a reason though that it didn't work. So it almost seems like that's the vibe that we have right now. I want to listen to the beautiful vocal run though, because Yuhyun coming for me. Oh, it's beautiful, like chest voice. Beautiful there too, sorry, before we get to the chorus, beautiful vocal run there too. I know some of these might not be correct with like who's singing what part, but it's the part where it says like tomorrow will it hurt more is almost a different frame of mind from like kind of more hopeful things where you're like, oh, tomorrow will be better. Sometimes it's like, it's if you're in like this mindset of like it just keeps being difficult in your life, you're going through something where you can't seem to catch a break. And I'm kind of comparing this to the little bit that I know about their story of being a group previously with some of the members. I think there's a couple of other people that like joined in for Dreamcatcher, but the previous group not working, and you know, now having to try again and do something that is very risky and outside of the box, and will that work out? So I'm kind of comparing this to like that experience of when you put so much of yourself into something and it just keeps not working and it keeps getting harder and you can't seem to catch a break, and you think, well, is it just going to be worse tomorrow? And you kind of get stuck in that feeling of, you know, you can't get to that thing that you want even though you're trying so hard. I hope we loop around to optimistic, because right now it's not looking too good. They sound beautiful though. I like the heavy like bass drum too. Oh, I mean, you can kind of take this a few different ways. I feel like I'm kind of interpreting this as like, one is like a musician to people who like your music, and I'm talking about, there's one line that was about like, without ability and I'm still promising, like I still want to promise that I'll keep trying, that I'll keep doing better even though I don't know if I can keep that promise. You kind of have that with a musician to the people who listen to them. You have that as someone who's part of a group, right? Like you feel this responsibility when you're in a group of people. And I can't speak a whole lot about from like a musical side of things, but I know from my musical theater side, where if you're like in a lead role, which I've done before, where so much of a scene is reliant on like your performance, and I've done it where I haven't had like an understudy or anything, and it's like you have to make this work because everyone else's role depends on how well you do and that you're there. So when you're in a group, there's a bunch of people who are like in it together, and if one person feels like they're not measuring up, they can feel like they're dragging the rest of them down. It's kind of that feeling too of like feeling like you're not doing enough, but then also feeling like something that's so important to you, you don't want to lose it. You know, you don't want to lose your group members that you've spent all this time with, trying to, working so hard and trying to make your dream come true and putting so much of yourself into it. You don't want to lose them. You don't want to lose the people who care about your music and connect with it and stuff like that. So there's kind of this feeling of like, responsibility of like being in the limelight and having a career and stuff like that, of like being in the public eye. And then also stuff of like friendship, like you build such close bonds with people that you work on creative projects with. And it can be really, really sad when you have to walk away from it. Again, as someone who worked in theater, you spend so many hours on stage practicing with people and then off stage talking to people in between, scenes that you're not in. And you get so used to having them around for like every single day, long hours, way into the night. They've seen you at your best and your worst at that point. And then when you have to walk away from it, it can be really sad because you're bonded by circumstance, right? So it almost has that feeling to me. I mean, I know that they're doing okay now, so I guess it's not entirely sad, but it's sad that this is kind of seems to be some of their mindset at this point. It's a little loud for me. Look at, we have them kind of like singing together, like multiple voices together too, like they're together. Aw, that's so pretty. Like I don't know how well the translation is, but like it's like wishing on a star. And it's like make the dream of my heart come true kind of thing. Oh, this is so sweet. And it's beautiful. I love that kind of like distorted voice too in the back. Oh. That like taking a deep breath in vain, like how it's like, oh, to like calm yourself, take a deep breath, don't get overwhelmed. And it's almost like Dami's talking about like, I took that moment, I took that deep breath to try and calm myself, and like, that deep breath before you have to try and make something work, fix a problem, perform, deal with a difficult situation, whatever it may be. And it was in vain, like it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, and kind of thinking, maybe someday I'll get to a point where I was able to succeed, but it isn't right now. And hopefully you, whoever that is, if that's fans, if that's group members, whoever it may be, hopefully you'll be there, right? I like the pulled back production towards piano, but then like mostly bass. See, now we're saying like if I endure a little bit, will it hurt less, right? A little bit of optimism, maybe? Oh, that like, again, that optimism of like, maybe if I just keep trying, if I just make it through a little bit more, it won't hurt as much. But then you can't forget that it did hurt at some point, right? Like saying I can't forget the memories. They'll always be there and they'll shape who you are, and hopefully they make you stronger, but they're still there. There's still that time of sadness. You're never not going to have that time of hardship and sadness and feeling like you're going to lose something. So it's, being colored by that. And it shifts who you are and how you interact with the world, right? Like, especially with something like a dream where you can be very optimistic about your dream and you're like, this will definitely come true, this will definitely work out. And then when it fails enough times, you start to think maybe it won't. And you start to become more cynical and critical of it and thinking maybe it was foolish of me to have this dream. And you kind of lose some of that innocence of it too. So it kind of has this bittersweetness of maybe you're stronger on the other side of it, but you'll never be as innocent and optimistic as you were before the hardship. Beautiful vocals though. I feel like I say that every time, but it's always true. It sounds like there's acoustic guitar in this too, which is interesting. I'm used to them having a lot of electric guitar, which is like acoustic is more grounded, more you know, raw, which is good for a more emotional song, not to be not to make that joke, but ooh, beautiful belt. I also, just before we get into more of this, I like that there's these moments of like one person singing and then we have lots of layers. I don't know, it says kind of like all of them are singing. I don't know how many of them are actually singing in this parts, but I like how there's these moments of each of them having their moment to kind of voice their thoughts and feelings and what they're going through. And then we have these moments of them coming together, right? And them all having kind of this moment, like even here, like I wish is part of like the line of them coming together, like them having the same dream, the same wish, the same passion, and also like sharing the same feeling and experiences. And they're not alone. It's just that sometimes they have to be able to speak in their own voices so that they can, you know, get their thoughts across, get their experiences across, but in the end they're all together, right? So I kind of like that structure of like being individuals and then coming together. Also, I hear that vocal in the back too. Beautifully done. It's also like, I hope you remember me, right? Like, I hope that even if this all goes away, I hope you remember me. Oh, that was a very bittersweet song. I don't know how to feel at the end of it. I actually love getting to see that side of them that we got with Emotion because, you know, I think it's a lot pulling from like their experiences with the music industry before that. I know some people talked about how the Nightmare series has some imagery that is like symbolic of their experience with the music industry. I tried not to read too much into it because I kind of want to keep my own thoughts and interpretations for it. But, you know, seeing them talk about that experience and the fact that this is a second chance and them kind of acknowledging that. But also I love the vulnerability of it because it's really hard to do something that is really outside of the box like they are with this like rock sound, especially with like female singers. We can sit here and talk about some of the great female voices in rock music, but the truth is there's very, very few of them in comparison to how many male singers there are. There's so many male musicians in the rock genre, and then you get these, you know, females that come in and really get to shine, or they don't get a chance at all. So them breaking into a rock sound in like a K-pop kind of industry is one risk, and then doing that as a girl group is like a whole other side of like challenge to this. So they're definitely doing something very, I don't know, a risk to take going with the rock sound, but then to also have the next track to be this very somber, narrative driven one that is very vulnerable about their feelings and their experiences and their doubts about, you know, themselves and their abilities, but then also having this dream. And I like it in contrast to Chase Me, which was very much like, we have this dream, we're going to, you know, make a show, we're going to stand out, we're going to keep trying. And then you have Emotion, which is like the other side of like, I feel like it's the things that you talk about when you're not performing, when you're not on stage, when you're not embodying who you need to be as a performer. It's the side that you share with like your group members and your friends, and it's like, but what if I can't? You know, those moments of thinking back to like performances and other things and all of the little critiques that you have of yourself because you're always your worst critic, and thinking, what if I can't do this? And it's those quieter behind the scenes moments is what I feel like this song embodies. And I really like seeing both sides of that, of, you know, the, you know, persona of who they are as like Chase Me, of that being kind of their opening and really trying to make an impact and showing who they're going to be as performers, and then having Emotion be the people behind that. You know, there's Dreamcatcher, the group, and then there's like the individual people who actually make up what that is. And I really like this song showing that side of it and some of that doubt. And I feel like we all have that with everything that we're passionate about, because if we're passionate, it matters, and if it matters, it means that we're constantly afraid that we're going to lose it. So I really liked getting to see, you know, this little kind of quieter, more acoustic version of their music as well, because I think, again, it shows the diversity that a group can have. And I really like that I got to have that one where it is more personal. And now we're going to be getting into like guides and learning about like the group and the members and stuff. I feel like it's a good like segue that was completely unplanned on my part, but it worked out well for me. You can click this playlist to go and see all of my other Dreamcatcher reactions, or you can subscribe so it means next time I post a Dreamcatcher reaction, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!